than others. Some of them are used to build the others on top of. And basically the way most schools beyond kindergarten, Mitchell will tell you a little bit about his metaphor for this, which is called lifelong kindergarten, which is, the way I look at it is, I love kindergarten and first grade, and I love graduate school, and the 20 years in between was absolutely terrible. Right? So they let you do the right thing in kindergarten, although less so these days than before. Maybe Mitchell has been studying this, but the insidiousness of the wrong way is extending into really early childhood now. And then if you can survive all of this stuff and you have a few brain cells left, then they let you do the right thing in most graduate schools. But it's a terrible way to try and do things. So I'm going to try and show you two quick examples here, just to try and show you that children in the right kind of environment are remarkable in what they can do. So here is a first grade teacher that we found, true exception, who happened to be a natural mathematician, and I'm keeping track. In fact, if you're really going to be tough on me, Warren, I'll skip to the end. Are you going to be tough? Remember, I've got this and you don't. Okay. So, well, the real question is this interesting or not? Okay. So Marvin Minsky once said, school is the greatest invention anybody ever came up with to keep you from being interested in anything for more than 50 minutes at a time. Right, think about it. You just got interesting, and God damn it, you have to quit thinking about that and go think. So this factory method just doesn't work. Let's face it. It's complete BS. It's all for the convenience of other people than the people who are trying to learn. Once you get interested in something, that's when you want to just jump all over the hell of it till they drag you away. Okay, so the little game here this teacher played with the kids is, hey, pick a shape you want from these little wooden blocks, triangles, squares, diamonds, and try and make the next larger thing that has the same shape, and just keep on doing that. And you can imagine that trapezoids are kind of tricky, right? Because you have to twist them around. But here's what the kids did. So these are all 6-year-olds. Then the teacher said, okay, now let's make a project for your parents so you can tell them what you did. And she had them laboriously cut out all these things. And I said, well, why are you making the kids laboriously do that? And she said, well, kids jump to conclusions, and this slows them way down because I want them to reflect on what they just did. So you can, if you think about what I said about making, so the thing they did with the little wooden blocks was the bridge. Now they're analyzing the bridge they made. And here's what one kid, Lauren, wrote down. Took one tile to make the first thing, and the total number of tiles was 1. And it took 3 more to make the next one, and the total number was 4. And it took 5 more to make the next one, and the total number was 9. You can see here's another kid's one. And so right away Lauren saw, oh yeah, I can predict what these guys are going to be because they're always going to be 2 apart. And these are the square numbers up to 25, and the 6-year-old, she didn't know what 6 times 6 was. So you can see she erased here, and she erased here, but then worked it out. But you can see, oh yeah, these are square. Even though this thing isn't a square, those are square numbers. And then the teacher had the kids bring all of their stuff up to the front of the room, and everybody went, holy shit, a technical term. Technical term because the children realized that everyone had filled out the same chart no matter what their shape was. So they had been guided into discovering a universal growth law. And the growth law was not just a linear growth law. That's the first column where it grows smoothly. But a quadratic growth law, that's the second column, grows exponentially. And we can look and think about what that means. I was actually there that day, and you can't see, but there were tears running down my face because that was one of the greatest things I ever saw in an early childhood classroom because the teacher knew mathematics. So if you look at this, if you get the kids to turn this into a little algorithm, what do? You start with one piece, you add 2 to the new pieces needed, this column. Remember, they go by 2, and then you add those guys together to get the total. So if you just click through it, you're just adding like this, and the kids, 6-year-olds, can work out that scheme. And they love this because they didn't have to multiply these numbers together. They were good at adding, and this gives them a way of computing all the square numbers without having to do any multiplications. Okay, well, that's pretty cool. And in fact, here's something that children in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade have a lot of trouble with, which is exactly the same thing done the wrong way, namely this way, with algebra. So watch what happens when we go through this progression. Okay, there's 1 and 1. There's 2 and 2, and you can see the red curve and the blue line. And notice that these equations here both have multiplications in them. And so there are things that you wouldn't give to first graders, even though they can understand it. So this is one of the great things that Mitchell and I learned from Seymour Papert, which is the child first. Don't worry about what mathematicians have done. You can be a mathematician too. Sit down and understand the mathematics that the children can understand and give them that mathematics. And so what this does, and for the people who know math in the room, they'll realize that these are the discrete differential equations of growth for linear growth and for quadratic growth, and that covers most of what elementary physics covers. And in fact, this is what Babbage built his first machine for. Okay, so I'm going to skip through this because I think So here's a little thing done with little cars. I'm going to pretend that they're villagers in a second. So I'm going to tell these cars to go forward and turn. So I'm going to make the cars real small. This is another idea I got from Mitchell. And I'm going to say, go ahead. And I'm going to say, and I'm going to plot this out. And you can see the probability of them hitting is actually pretty low. So I'm going to stop that. And I'm going to try it with 1,000. Now the village is very dense and there's just one little red guy. Whoops, they're all dead. I can try it with 200. And it's going to take a little longer. So this is a little program that the children write themselves. Don't ever give a child a program. Don't give it to him. Induce it. Okay? And now I'm going to try it with, say, 80. So while it's doing that, what disease does that first curve look like to you? Typhoid? Anybody know anything about disease here? Typhoid is yes, it's caused by a bacillus, although 10 years after that bacillus was discovered, the government of Italy issued a law saying it was caused by bad air. That was a little more than 100 years ago. Yeah, the germ theory of disease came in around 1865. And typhoid is caused by a bacillus. So now let me try it with 40. Okay, what disease do these last diseases look like? How about AIDS? Why is AIDS so deadly?